listening to 91 Reasons, a journey into the twisted landscape of pop culture. Keep your hands and arms inside the podcast at all times. And now, the voice, Jeff Tucker.
I'm sitting outside, sitting in the garage. I got the door open. You can hear the 91 freeway racing by here in good old Buena Park. And I record some of these on my phone because it's just easier. You know, the sound quality is not much different than when I set up the full laptop and the microphone. I do that sometimes. Just depends on how the day went and what have I got time for, and should I just record one fast, or not even fast, just, you know, I feel like let's sit down and we'll talk and we'll just do this, you know. So here I sit in the garage, staring out at the 91 freeway racing by. It's weird, man. These are weird times. These are really weird times. I don't have to tell you that. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Every day you turn on the news, it's some more weirdness out of everything. Every level of government is weird at this point. You know, you can do this and you can't do that. And we as Americans have never gone through anything like this, where the closest I can imagine I can relate it to is after 9/11, when they enacted the Patriot Act and certain things just changed, you know. Remember the first time you went to the airport and it's like, oh, now you got to take your shoes off and empty your pockets and your belt. And you know, remember the guy, the shoeicide bomber? He tried to blow up a plane with a bomb in his shoes, so now everybody has to take their shoes. One guy did that. You know, after they destroyed the Twin Towers, everything changed, and but there was this wave of, yes, everything's different, but we know eventually we'll settle into the groove. There's no groove settling to this pandemic because it changes so often. Just when you think you've told yourself you have a handle on it, you don't. You know, you says one thing, you say another, and you both change. It's tearing me apart. And you just feel there are moments of just utter despair. And that's totally normal. When they talk about the new normal, hey folks, the new normal is total despair. And if I had to say it the way I wanted to, I'd say total effing despair. Because it's just everything's upended. And sure, you can tell yourself, well, a lot of people have it worse. That's great. Except you're in it in the now, in the right now. In the right now, things are bizarre. And there are little bright pings of normalcy where you go, oh, that felt normal. Doing that felt normal. And then other times you go, I don't know what's happening. When we went to Vegas, the first time you sit down in a restaurant, because you can't do that here. You can starting today in Orange County, which they haven't done yet. The restaurants haven't done it yet. But you haven't been able to do it in months. But you go to Las Vegas, and the first time we sat down at the cafe inside the Luxor, man, my family looked like it was Christmas morning, and we had just gotten the exact thing we had asked Santa for. Except this year we had asked Santa for a sit-down restaurant experience, and that seems so trivial, but it goes a long way towards regaining that ping of normalcy. Because you can't do it here. You know, we went to Chili's and sat in the parking lot. We went to Supermax and sat in the parking lot. And the whole time I'm eating, I'm like, I know, any minute now, a car's coming through. There's going to be a drive-through right where my head is. Bing, I'm gone. Thankfully, it didn't happen. But you see, you know, I should be concentrating on the good food, and instead I'm looking up, you know, like I'm in prison for somebody to shank me. Only the shank is an 86 Eldorado. Is that a thing? I don't know. I don't know cars. You know, it's a 2004 Corolla. There, that's better, right? I was talking with my kids the other day about things you can't do anymore. And one of the things I'm not entirely proud of it, a little bit proud, but I used to make a lot of crank calls back in the day. There was nothing nothing that had more fun in it than picking up the phone and calling some stranger and just rattling off nonsense. And that's all I did was nonsense. I never did anything hurtful. My mother taught me, do you have Prince Albert in a can? Let him out. Is your refrigerator running? Why don't you go and catch it? You call up a deli. You got pig's feet? Yeah, I got pig's feet. Where do you buy your shoes? And I was trying to explain to my kids what a crank call is. They had no concept because the entire life that they've lived has had caller ID. So you can't just call up a random person and rattle them with nonsense. You just can't do it. And I'm trying to explain, no, we used to do this all the time. We used to call 867-5309 and ask for Jenny because every area code had that number. In ours, in Norwalk, it was this old lady, and she just would tell us, Jenny's not here. Are you sure? Because she gave me this number. It's on the bathroom wall. What? And we get to school. Did you call the number? Yeah, I called it. I asked her for Jenny. I called Loveline. I think I've played a couple of those on the show. I used to call Loveline a lot. Wally George had a call-in show. We would try to get on. Anytime they solicited calls from the audience, I tried to get on, just as a goof. I was never to the level of those Howard Stern guys, but I had fun. And then my favorite one to do was I would find a payphone, and I would dial 800 numbers at random until somebody picked up. And back in the mid-90s, people still picked up the phone. A couple years later, like 97, 98, suddenly everybody has one of those menus. So you don't get a person. And you have to keep pushing numbers until you try to get a person. But originally, people just pick up the phone. And I would always go, hello, I'm trying to deliver a pizza. And they'd go, we didn't order pizza. And I go, no, I can't find where you're at. And I have a pizza. It's getting cold. They'd go, there's a guy with a pizza. And who ordered a pizza? And I don't know. And I'd start crying. I can't find you. Oh, my God, that was so much fun. The other one was when you got... Boy, somebody's really racing down the road there. When you'd get the menu, I would hit numbers. If you know the name of the person you're trying to call, enter the first three letters. I'd be, okay, Smith. Okay, yeah. And I'd get, hello, you've reached Charles Smith. Please leave us a message. Please leave a message. And I'd go, hey, oh, my God, Charles. We haven't talked in years. It's Toby from school. Do you remember me? Listen, we're all getting together to have a beer. Why don't you meet us? And then I'd hang up. I don't know if he ever got the call. Probably just deleted it. But I had 2 minutes of fun. But I'm trying to explain this to my kids, and they have no idea what I'm talking about. Because the idea of reaching out and rattling somebody on the phone is alien to them because they know the person's just going to call them right back. That's just the way it goes. So now, and the only time you can do it now is when 800 numbers call you. And that's a thing that Jim Florentine pioneered, where he signed up for a lot of services to have them call. And he lived in a state in New York, where you don't have to have both parties' permission to record. I can't record any of my calls because in California that's illegal. So I don't record anything like that. If you're recording, everybody has to know you're recording. So it's totally different. But in New York, they would just call, these places would call them, and they would just nonsense on the phone. Those are some of the best phony phone calls ever. They were really pioneered by a guy who called himself the touch-tone terrorist, and he figured out how to get people to call him because his number was one number off UPS, and UPS people were calling him all day about their packages, so he decided to just talk nonsense to them. And those are really funny too. Those became part of Crank Yankers. Yeah, I know the whole history of crank calls because I have the tube bar, the red tapes, all that stuff. But, it's like trying to explain 8-track to your kids. They don't know what I'm talking about. My kid doesn't know. They don't know what I have a vintage phone on the wall, corded. And they're like, what is that? I'm like, well, that's how you used to call people. Well, you can't go anywhere. No, you stood right there and made the call. Unless you begged your mother for a long phone cord. Oh, well. We're going to do another round of movies I don't get. Last time I did Hocus Pocus, and I expected more of a backlash, but I actually heard from a couple of people who are like, I don't even watch that movie. And I'm like, well, you're not missing anything. You're not missing anything. Don't believe the hype. So let's talk about a couple of movies here that I don't get. The first one is a beloved classic, and I tell you, I've tried to watch it a couple of times. I was going to watch it again prior to doing this episode, but, you know, you think during a pandemic you have all this free time, and the next thing you look up and it's another Tuesday, and you go, where did the week go? I was going to watch a couple of movies. I was busy the whole time because I don't remember having any downtime. I haven't had any downtime, you know, time where you're just staring off into the sun. I don't have that. I wouldn't even know what to do with that if I had it. But I was going to watch The Princess Bride, and I didn't, because I thought maybe it deserves a second look. But I'll tell you what, man, I don't get this movie at all. I've seen it twice. The first time, I loathed it. I watched it again, and this is years ago. I watched it again thinking, well, maybe I'm the problem, because everybody seems to like this movie. Hated it the second time. And I like a lot of those people. Wallace Shawn, Peter Falk, Cary Elwes, Andre the Giant, Billy Crystal, Carol Kane. I love Robin Wright. I love all those actors. Mandy Patinkin, Christopher Guest. I mean, I'm big fans of those guys. But there's something about the tone of the movie that I don't enjoy. I don't like. Is it dry? Because I don't have a problem with dry humor. I'm a big fan of Charles Grodin and Albert Brooks. You know, when you look up dry humor, that's who you get in the dictionary. But this one, and I'm a big fan of Rob Reiner, the director, and William Goldman, who wrote it. Like, everybody involved has a pedigree. But for some reason, that movie, it just grates on me. You know, I'm Inigo Montoya, you killed my father, prepared to... I know I am not left-handed, and he didn't fall? Inconceivable. Like, I don't find any of it humorous in any way. And I look around at people with the T-shirts, and, you know, they're getting ready to do an online, they're going to read the script together, and there's all this hype, and Cary Elwes wrote a book about it, and I go, this is one bus that I have missed. The Princess Bride. And I know initially I was really turned off by Fred Savage. That has not changed. I don't like Fred Savage. I've never enjoyed anything that he was in. I don't care about Princess Bride or The Wonder Years. You know, I've got a copy somewhere of The Wizard, but I don't have any affinity for it. Little Monsters. All the stuff he's done later. I know he's become like a producer. He's a guy whose career has just eluded me. You know, I don't get it. I'm sure he's a very nice fellow in real life, but it's, you know, some people you just don't click with, you know. And I don't dislike him like I dislike Adam Sandler, you know, because I really can't stand that guy. But this is just something about it. I don't like Fred Savage, and since he's like the thing you cling to in the movie because he's the one the story's being read to, maybe that was the big turnoff. But I can't think of any of the scenes that I enjoy. You have fun storming the castle. Like, oh, okay, I don't, it's not for me. And I know that I am in the minority on this because the majority loves this movie. It has been readily available on every format since its release. It is a perennial shelf presence, The Princess Bride. They've done merch for it, you know, books and you name it. But it ain't for me. And that pains me because I'd love to sit down and go, oh, this is a good one. I want to watch this one. Like Back to the Future. I'll watch it again. I have no desire. And I know that, remember they came out with, they did a Blu-ray release where the title was a ambigram where it read Princess Bride, and then you turn it upside down and it still read Princess Bride, like Angels and Demons. I remember like, oh, that looks, you know, I'm a sucker for good covers. I mean, we just went to the store tonight, and some of the Blu-ray covers they had Ready Player One and Lord of the Rings, and a bunch of them have the, you know, because they're always trying to resell them. Like they think if they put a different cover on them, you'll buy them. Well, that's true because I almost bought Princess Bride because of that cover, but the ones I saw today were just really bland. Oh my gosh, so ugly. I don't understand that. I remember when the movie Quick Change hit theaters, the one with Bill Murray. The poster was him as a clown, a sad clown, and the text talked about him robbing a bank. I thought that was a great poster, just a really striking, fun image. And then when it came out on tape, it was this stupid, and I want to say Photoshop, but it wasn't Photoshop. It actually looked like someone had cut out photos of all the cast, and they were all scattered across the cover with like a pretzel, Quick Change. Look up the Quick Change VHS box. It is so ugly. Oh my God. That burns me when movies have really good key art, and then if they don't do well at the theater, they think it's the key art, so they change the key art for whatever the release. They did that with Edge of Tomorrow, and they not only changed the key art, but changed the title to Live, Die, Repeat, which is the tagline, not the title. The Tom Cruise movie, which I've said on this show many times, that's a great movie. But for whatever reason, maybe I did buy that Princess Bride. I have so many DVDs and Blu-rays still wrapped in plastic, it's a crime. But, again, time slips through your fingers. The more you tighten your grip, the more star systems will slip through your fingers. Charming to the last. You have no idea how hard it was to sign your death warrant. Surprised you had the courage to do it yourself. So anyways, Princess Bride, if you like it, hey, good for you. I want to be like you. Unfortunately, I'm stuck being me, and I don't get it. Next one is a movie everybody loved, man. And I saw it in the theater. This is pretty sad. This was the last movie I saw in the movie theaters before they shut down. Now, there were movies out after this, but I didn't go see them. But Joker was the last movie I saw in a theater. I had planned to go to the movies a lot this summer, and, of course, not here, not in California. I'm still waiting to see Tenet, if it ever opens here. I saw Bill and Ted on demand, but I paid full price to see Joker. I'd heard good things about it. It's a 3-hour movie about the origin of the Joker, played by Joaquin Phoenix. And, this is one of the dumbest movies I have ever seen. And it's hard to talk about it because people revere it so much. But this is The Emperor's New Clothes. This is a movie that's only good because people say it's good, not because it's actually good. I know it's a pretty good movie about the darkness of mental illness, and on that note, the film does succeed. You really do feel that Arthur Fleck is going insane right in front of you, and Joaquin Phoenix is doing a pretty good performance. The problem is that they had this weird idea to make him the Joker. On its own, the film is not bad. As a Batman universe movie, it's ridiculous because it's as bad as as Birds of Prey and the Suicide Squad movies, because they just don't inhabit any form of reality. And I know that's ridiculous to say in a movie based on comic books. Oh, it's Jeff. They're not reality because they're comic books. Yeah, I know, funny voice. I know. Thank you for arguing with me. Boss, because you don't like those movies about that. I know, Berg, you don't know what movies are like. I know what movies are like. I go all the time. Yeah, I do go all the time, Berg. So this is what it's like to go insane right on the podcast. Nuts. But you have to buy into the concept of Joker or the movie falls apart. And all I have to say is, do you really believe that in 1970s New York that there was a company that just sent out clowns all day? Like, there was so much need for clowns in Gotham City, New York, 1977, whatever year it is, that you need 12 guys in grease paint sitting ready like firefighters. And that guy's racing. Firefighters, the minute they get the call, the clowns race out. You have to buy that, or the movie falls apart. And I don't buy it. I think it's stupid. If you've ever read The Killing Joke, Alan Moore's Batman, masterpiece, It's about the origin of the Joker. And the Joker says right at the top, sometimes I remember it one way, and sometimes I remember it another. And this time, this is how I remember it. And in it, he's a stand-up comic who's not very good at it. He's not very funny. And he's got a wife who doesn't believe in him. And she's pregnant, and he's trying to make money to support a family-to-be. And he ends up becoming the Red Hood, and that's the origin of the Joker. And he never forgives Batman for losing his wife, his unborn child, and disfiguring him. And at the end, you're not really certain if that's the origin story or not. And isn't that the genius of The Dark Knight with Heath Ledger? Where that first scene where he tells those guys, you want to know how I got these scars? And you're like, oh my God. You know, and he goes, Daddy didn't like that. Let's put a smile on that face. You're like, oh my God, this guy's nuts. Look what he went through. And then half hour later, he tells a different origin story. And it's just as brutal, but you're like, wait, oh, this guy's crazy. That's good storytelling. Whatever's happening in Joker is, I want to say it's pretentious, but that's not the right word. The right word for it is it's a copycat. You know? If I received Joker in the 4th grade, I would have smelled it very strongly from the mimeograph. Remember when you smelled the mimeograph? Because this is just a copy. If you've ever seen The King of Comedy, this is the movie. If they had taken The King of Comedy and dubbed in a couple of references to Batman, it's the same movie. Robert De Niro plays Rupert Pupkin, a guy that cannot function in society, and so he goes to great lengths to get people to notice him. And in the end becomes a star. And it's really dark and really out there. And you're never quite certain if you like this Rupert guy or you don't. You're not supposed to. And the Joker's character in Joaquin's version, you're not certain you like this guy at all. He's got problems. His mom is, she's crazy and she keeps saying that she's waiting for Thomas Wayne. And that's where the movie really falls apart, in that they keep trying to shoehorn these Batman references in a gritty 1970s dark drama. And I get it. If that's what you want to do, then that's what you want to do. But this is an origin story. So we're never going to see Batman. We're only going to see Joker. And we're never going to see him do anything Joker-esque. He kills those guys in the subway, which is a reference to Bernie Goetz. Does anybody remember the name Bernie Goetz? Bernie Goetz was a guy who rode the subway of New York every day, and he'd had enough of crime. So when 2 thugs attacked him, he killed them with a screwdriver. And the nation was torn. Is Bernie Goetz a vigilante or a hero? And in this moment, where it's painted so that Arthur is the hero because the guys in the subway are obnoxious and they deserve it. And the whole city's on edge. And the Joker becomes this figurehead of revolution. They're lofty ideas and they're not bad, but it's the Batman thing that just pulls it apart. When he goes to Wayne Manor and sees young Bruce Wayne, it's like, that's what Mr. Plinkett was talking about when he said, we dodged a bullet by not having a young Han Solo in Revenge of the Sith. Well, we've got a young Bruce Wayne in this ridiculous Joker movie, and there's this whole underpinning of maybe they're brothers, maybe Thomas Wayne had an affair with his mom, and he's going to come to his senses one day, and then that gets dashed. But is he the father or not? We don't know. We don't know. And if you go by this movie, if this is the Batman universe, then at what point is he going to face off against Batman? So I did some math. I wrote it all down. Okay. In the 1989 Batman, the Joker is 14 years older than Bruce Wayne. Only 14 years. Bruce Wayne, Michael Keaton, is 38 in Batman, and Jack Nicholson is 52. 14 years difference. That's not too bad. That's an older guy The young guy has the brute force. He's been trained to do this vigilante character, superhero. And the Joker's never going to win in a fist fight because that's not the way he fights. Now, in Joker, Bruce Wayne is 10. And how old do you think Joker is? He's 45 years old. So there is a 35-year difference between Joker and Batman in this film. That means if we're conservative and Bruce Wayne returns to Gotham City to become Batman after traveling the world, we're going by what everybody knows, Batman Begins. If he returns at a conservative age 25, then the Joker is 60. The Joker's 60. So we have this frail old Joker who is 8 years older than the Joker in Batman 1989. It just doesn't work. The math doesn't work. He's too old. And the moment where he goes and sees Bruce Wayne through the bars, and I saw that he was so young, and I went, oh, well, now the movie has no legs to stand on. Zero. Because that kid, by the time he grows up to be the Batman, this guy's too old to have any kind of fight left in him. I mean, at 60, we really want the Joker running around at age 60. I'm sure there are some 60-year-olds that could pull it off, especially in the movies. But this is a real-life crime drama movie. Despair and mental illness and the uprising of society, the rich and the poor and the have and the have-nots. And you have a pretty good backdrop, and then it's sullied by what in this world is silly cartoon stuff. And when the Joker finally makes that triumphant dance down the stairs, which is a very good cinematic scene, and then he's a guest on the show, I remember just like none of this makes sense, and I have to take it and look at it as a writer. Like, if I wrote this, would I be happy with it? You know, the movie made $1 billion, so what do I know? But would I be happy with the transition from nobody cares about Arthur Fleck to now he's a guest on the show, and not only is he a guest on the show, but he's a guest on the show and nobody thought to check his pockets because he has a loaded gun in there. And he's going to shoot the host. And the whole scene plays out very close to The Dark Knight Returns by Frank Miller. There's a scene where the Joker goes on the David Letterman show. And I wish it had been more like that. Because the Joker in this movie, it's just brutal killing and beating. You know, there's that tense scene with the little person, and he lets him go and he kills everybody else. But at no point does he pull off anything that comes off as Jokerish at all. You know what I mean? Like, he's got that really cruel laugh they gave him where he's in pain. And those are good elements. But the Joker is the Joker because everything to him is a big joke. But in the movie, Arthur Fleck has no sense of humor. Not even accidentally. Not even cruelly. You know, he just screams, "That's what you effing deserve." Like, that's a great meme. But I don't know if it's... Have we come full circle on superhero movies? Did we start out dark and gritty with 1989's Batman and get all the way to 1995's Batman Forever and then 1997 Batman? But after the first two, the first three, that fourth one was a doozy. And then Batman falls for years until he's resurrected in Batman Begins, and now we're going to take it a little more seriously. Dark Knight is the high point. Dark Knight Rises, not so much. And then we have all that nonsense with Zack Snyder and his Batfleck, giant gray Martha Wayne. And now we're at the tip in the Bat world of complete realism. Is that what we want in these superhero movies? Is complete realism? Because the Marvel movies aren't like that. The Marvel movies understand and know that they're comic book movies. Every once in a while, there's a... Josie really loves Iron Man 3, so I've watched it a couple times. That movie has things to say. for the most part, it's just buildings blowing up and superheroes making quips. And there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you're into. But boy, Batman's taken this journey. And the journey is about to end with Joker, and Batman is now sidelined. He's not in Birds of Prey at all. Harley Quinn blows up an entire city block and Batman's nowhere to be seen. He's not in Joker because he's 10 years old. And then, boom, next summer, it's Robert Pattinson as the Batman. And it looks like he is a mean, dirty fighting guy with a souped-up muscle car. It looks more like Mad Max than it does Batman. Now, I'll hold up judgment on that until I see it. Because you can't judge a movie until you've seen it. But I don't know where we get to that point where... I mean, did anybody ever think that we would say that in the eras of Batman, that Batman Returns was the best of the bunch of that era? Because it knew how to mix adult imagery with kids' sensibility of superheroes? And then we don't get another one until Dark Knight. And again, it's a dark adult imagery, but there's still enough Batman in there. I'm not the one wearing hockey pads. And the Bat Pod that races around, and and Two-Face is in there somewhere. And then it just sort of falls off a cliff from the heavy, because I consider the Zack Snyder movies to be heavy. They just feel heavy. The Batsuit is big and bulky and heavy. And not that I want Batman and Robin again, but there's something in there. There's a moment where Batman, imagine Batman is the optometrist and he's going better, worse, same, boom, and then the Batman click. Oh, it's clear as a bell. That's the Batman. And I don't know where that is. I mean, Dark Knight was the last one. Because this Joker movie, it's a $1 billion movie. This movie made $1 billion at the box office. That's nothing to sneeze at. That's a huge amount of money for a movie to make. Especially one with a low budget, very few effects, dark, gritty, 3 hours long. Would I ever sit through Joker again? Absolutely not. I have no desire to ever see this movie again. I've seen it, I soaked it in, and I didn't enjoy the trip. Joker, baby. All right, let's veer in the same lane here with a Christopher Nolan movie that everybody loved. Man, I did not get Inception. And I know people swear by it. It's a masterpiece of this and that. The visuals at Inception are stellar. There's no denying that. But it's the story that I go for. Visuals will only take you so far, but without a good story to hang your hook on, you have nothing. And once you buy into the idea that Leonardo DiCaprio's character has this box, and if they all wear their bracelet, boom, they're in his dreams, you got a story. I have no problem with any of that. I love the layers going down in the dream world. I got all that. I am reasonably intelligent and can figure that out. The problem I have with Inception, does anybody even remember what the actual plot of this movie is? Is it that DiCaprio can do something that gets him back with his family and his kids? That's ultimately the redemption story that they're telling. But it's the framework of the movie is they're trying to get Cillian Murphy to give him the idea to sell off his father's company. Because they all want to make money once the company is sold. The thing that they want to do, first off, it's not interesting. Secondly, it benefits them, but not the person they're doing it to. So it's basically they're doing a heist. It's a heist movie. It's a mind heist. They're going to go into the depths of this guy's mind, and they're going to implant the idea for him to sell his father's company in pieces instead of keeping it together. That way, they can all make $1 billion. To what end? I don't know. Because, like in Ocean's 11, the money is good, but it's also about one-upping the casino. Can they do it? Clooney's character cares less about the money itself and more about the prestige of being able to say to somebody, I'm the guy that did that. Now, Cobb, DiCaprio's character, is only doing it so that whatever is on his record is expunged so he can be with his kids. That's noble. He's also, you remember that the whole subplot of Marion Cotillard, who played Talia in Dark Knight Rises, like he did something with her and she's haunting his dreams, and when she shows up the dream world collapses. Like there's a lot going on. I have no problem with complicated movies. I actually quite enjoy them. The more complicated the better. But I just don't care if this guy breaks his company up. The very thing that they're trying to do, I don't care about. So the whole movie for me fell flat. I loved all that stuff of them in the van and the hallways. You know, they're trying to do their own other version of basically the Matrix. That's all great. But in the Matrix, they're trying to free humanity from the robots. Because humanity's being used as batteries. That's instantly you go, well, they have to do that. That has to be done. They can't be used as batteries. You have to do that. Inception, you go, well, they're trying to break up his company. You go, why don't, what? Break up his what? His father's company. Why? Well, so they can make money. That's it? There's no noble reason for it? And maybe there was and I missed it. But I've seen it a few times. I never picked up on it. Maybe I was at the bathroom during that moment of dialogue every time. I don't know. But visuals enough are not enough to make me like a movie. If that was the case, Phantom Menace would be a masterpiece because the visual in that are stunning. But the stories rank. And I think Inception could have... All they had to do, and I know Nolan and his brother who write these things, they spend years on them. Tenet's like 10 years in development. I know that they spend the time. I mean, I think Memento's a masterpiece. Dark Knight, Insomnia. This guy's made some great movies. But I don't think Inception, it just doesn't do it for me. I just don't quite get why I should care about that guy's father's company and whether it gets broke up or not. But it did inspire that really good joke. Alec Baldwin in 30 Rock says, I never fall asleep on planes in case I get incepted. That's a great line. And I do love, knowing when he's all the way down in the dream world, like, dude, you're going to be stuck down here 1,000 years, but up top it's only like 40 minutes. I love that. I love getting the audience to buy into that. That's fun. I just wish the reason they were doing it was better. And then the other thing is I don't like Ellen Page. God, she's an actress I just can't stand. And I've seen a bunch of stuff that she's in. We just watched Umbrella Academy, but I don't like her at all. I sat through Hard Candy, and I don't like her. And Juno, I don't like her. And X-Men, whatever one she was in, X-Men 3, I don't like her. I can't think of a single Ellen Page appearance that I was like, oh, Ellen Page. No, just doesn't. I don't get it, man. She's an actress I don't get. And she's worked quite a bit. But I don't get it. But there's a lot of like big high profile stars I don't get. That's just more about me than it does the poor actor who's just doing their job. So at least I am aware that I'm a jerk. There's a million people walking around who are not aware, and yet here I am aware that I am a jerk. So I'm aware, and I can't even make a crank call to prove it. Well, I want you to stay sane in this crazy world. And as it gets closer to the end of the year and things start getting even crazier, it's up to us to stay even saner. And to not become Arthur Fleck. Because you don't want to end up in a bad movie. Or insane. And did I even mention the fact that at the end, he sort of recants that it's even true? Oh, that was so stupid. Like you don't know if the whole thing you sat through even happened. Oh, I don't care. At that point, I just didn't care. I just wanted out. So, another episode on its way soon, man. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. I'm Jeff Tucker, and this is 91 Reasons.
Thanks for listening to 91 Reasons. Please subscribe and leave a review on iTunes. Find us on Facebook. Is anyone even still listening?
Good night, future boy.
Hey, it's me. I just want to come back after the credits and say everybody's asleep, so I don't want to wake anybody up. But there's that sequence in the movie where Tom Hardy tells him, "Don't be afraid to dream a little bigger, darling." And he's got like a big gun. And you go, "Oh, Rachel's up. Come here, honey. I'm talking on the show." He goes, "Don't be afraid to dream a little bigger, darling." And you go, "Well, that's fine, except why wouldn't you just dream up a tank or a giant robot or like..." That's ridiculous that when people only dream these little tiny guns. Anyways, I gotta go. I'm sorry talking about that movie. Bye.
Well, whatever it is, it's got to get by us. Right. Go get her, Ray.
Like, seriously, if you could just dream up something, why wouldn't you just dream yourself out of it? Or, like, they show Ellen Page dreaming up, like, reality itself. Just hire those people. Hire writers or Cirque du Soleil performers and go, dream us out of here. Like, they're having gunfights with people when they could just have a Monty Python foot fall from the sky and just collapse them. Or wipe them out. But then you don't have a script, right? Well, that's when the rules are just arbitrary. I am overthinking this. I gotta go.
I remember when this was all farmland as far as the eye could see. Old man Peabody owned all of this. He had this crazy idea about breeding pine trees.